It says live. Hello, everybody. Hi. Okay. Right, there we go. I think we are live now. Um, Let me just double check everything's okay. Ooh, All right, everything looks good. Oh, hello. I see some people already here. Wonderful. Hello to everybody. I'm just gonna say hi. My name's Andrea. Welcome to this Facebook Live. Um, I can't see who's here at the moment. Oh, how do we go? Now I can see. Right. Hello, Christiana. Hi, nice to see you. Um, right. Well, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else wants to join in as well. Hi, Joe. Nice to see you here. Apologies if any technical difficulties happen, but with how things have been going lately, I'm sure everybody's sort of like used to these sort of issues anyways. We will try and keep everything smooth as possible. Right, well, just let's get started then. So hello to everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm one of the physiotherapists working at CPotential, and I wanted to welcome you to this Facebook Live event. Hello, Chris. I will be talking through today's topic, which is treadmill training, as well as touching in lightly with the LiteGait. Chris will be most likely on the hello in the comments, just answering any questions if any of those come in. So I'll be focusing on this, and he'll be sort of like my backup on the other side. Thank you, Chris. Right. So okay, so I work at CPotential, which we have our center based in North London. And basically we do physiotherapy, and we offer a range of services in physiotherapy. But today I want to focus on treadmill training and what exactly is it? Who is it for? What are the benefits? How do we use it? And just sort of like give you a general view of what it is that we do and how it is that we do it. Of course, if you do have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat, and hopefully we can answer those for you. Right, so let's see how we do it. So what is treadmill training? Treadmill training refers to the therapeutic modality in which a physiotherapist uses a treadmill to achieve a child's mobility goals. So what exactly does that mean? It just basically means that we use a treadmill, which I'm sure most people will know what it is, a treadmill, a machine to help with walking. And we basically use it to help a child walk, mobilize as they want to, whether that is walking or maybe running or even maybe skipping. So we use that to help them achieve their goals, whatever it is that is. We basically use the principles of neuroplasticity, which Eloise so kindly explained to us last week, in which they say that by task training, by repeating an activity over and over, we can change the brain so that they learn new things, learn either new movement patterns or just basically anything. And to do that, we need a lot of repetition. So obviously the treadmill is ideal for that, as it just sort of like keeps on going until you tell it to stop. It also basically means that the treadmill, thankfully, is sort of like a flat surface where the therapist can have total control over any of the sort of variables, which are like speed or incline. And then it's sort of like a flat, stable, safe surface where the child will then walk or run, whichever one it is. And it's just basically like a very safe way for them to have that experience, not just of walking, but also of the exercise. This will encourage them to sort of like push themselves a little further when it comes to stamina, as well as endurance, strength, and balance. But exactly how does it do that? I will come back to that a little later and give you all of the details. So stay around for that. Right. So why exactly do we use a treadmill? A lot of people will see a treadmill and they'll think of a gym. They'll think of grown-ups, and not something that you might necessarily think about when you're thinking about training or helping children. So why exactly do we use it? Well, it has been proven by many studies to be beneficial for children who have CP, who've had strokes, developmental delays, Down syndrome, a variety of genetic conditions, and many more, um, to help them reach their mobility goals, makes them easier for them to move around in their environments. So the children that are suitable for this are mainly the ones that have the cognitive and physical ability to actually engage with the treadmill. So that means that if they can understand what's happening and they're able to sort of like follow instructions, even if they're very simple of just putting one foot in front of the other, then they would be suitable. And also if the therapist will then decide if it is safe and useful for them, because you don't want to be using the treadmill for somebody who's not useful for it. If they don't want to, then we won't use it. Pretty simple. um, so just as an example, if we have a child who, for example, is walking loads, but they want to walk for longer or they want to be safer while they're walking or running, but they're scared of the treadmill, then they will not engage with the exercise. So it's best to maybe try something else for a while, maybe build your relationship with them, and then come back to the treadmill when they feel safer with you as a therapist. Um, the same thing could be said for a child that, say, maybe might not walk as well, might not even walk at all, and it's just not engaging. They're not trying. They're not putting one foot in front of the other, no matter sort of like the many ways we try it. So then it might not be suitable. Um, we do have equipment that will help children like that in the center, uh, but say just like the treadmill training by itself might not be as useful for them. Um, so while we're using the treadmill, obviously one of the main things we use the same way in the gym is to improve exercise tolerance, stamina, and endurance, basically. By pushing a little bit more each and every session, new distances and or new times are reached, so that children will then have um, new boundaries and new goals to reach every single time they go on the treadmill. Obviously, improvements are not linear. It might not happen like perfectly. You might not always beat it, but it is always more about the long game, because sometimes we have off days, sometimes we have great days. So it's really about seeing the overall improvement in exercise tolerance. By doing this sort of like regularly, not only will they improve in their endurance, but also in their confidence within themselves. So as soon as they start seeing that, oh, maybe when I first arrived a month ago, I was only able to do 5 minutes at this speed. But now that I've been doing it every week, I can do 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And they will feel more confident in themselves because now they know that they can do it. And hopefully then that will translate into their own personal lives instead of just being in a clinic setting. And yeah, then they can hopefully just enjoy greater independence as they now are able to maybe get to places they might have not been able to before, or maybe not have able to comfortably. So yeah, we want to be able to give those children more mobility in their life, which is why we use the treadmill. Like we also mentioned before, just very briefly, it also improves strength. It might seem a bit strange thinking of the treadmill with strength, but actually for children who are not weight bearing, who are not actually standing as much, being on the treadmill in that upright position is actually really good for the health of your bones, of your joints, of your muscles, and all of this sort of like helps you build strength, even if a way for us might think, oh, standing is easy, but for some children it's not. So just being on the treadmill and putting one foot in front of the other and having to move your leg forward and bring your toes up when you're doing that cycle of walking, that's going to all of it contribute towards building strength in those children's muscles, who for them is not it's not second nature. It's not something that they do automatically. It's something that they have to think about, and it's something that they have to work towards doing these movements that for us are natural, but for them might not be. Yes, so lower limb, yeah. And as well, because of that sort of like cyclical nature of having to put one foot in front of the other, what happens is while you're putting one foot and you're transferring your weight, then you have to take another step, and that's transferring your weight to the other side. So then, while you're also thinking about moving all of those muscles and moving your leg, children also have to think about stabilizing the back leg so that one doesn't just collapse while you're mid step, and also finding your balance while you're moving from one foot to the other foot, and using your core to maintain yourself upright. So it's actually quite a lot of workout, just by walking on the treadmill. Um, so what happens, for example, if these children can't stand for themselves? Well, we use something called the LiteGait. I'm just going to do like a quick revision of what the LiteGait is later on, but please stick around for that as well, because it's very useful and very interesting. So while we're walking on the treadmill, it's a flat surface, it's stable, it's not many distractions. Real life is often not like that, if at all, really. So how does it really transfer from walking on the treadmill to walking outside, to moving, to actually having these skills and using them day to day? So all of the benefits that we've just discussed, the strength, the endurance, the confidence, the healthier bones and muscles, all of that, then we want to transfer it into real life so they can then enjoy that greater independence. Because they will become more confident and comfortable mobilizing, hopefully then at school or outside or at home, then they can walk around more, they can reach places they couldn't before, and they'll be able to carry themselves further distances than they ever could before. So now it's also about improving their safety, and challenging them while they're on the treadmill, so that we can recreate as much as the distractions of real life in the clinic, in a place where it's quite calm and collected and simple, to outside. Um, so we will challenge them by adding more speed or more incline, or adding certain restrictions. So maybe we'll put little toys on the treadmill while they're walking, so that they have to step over and they have to think about not just, okay, I need to walk, but I need to step over so that I don't trip. Obviously, this is done in a very safe way so that there's plenty of people around. And it's only for those who are at the high level so that we can do it. But we will challenge the children no matter at what level they are. Another way we could do it is maybe we'll draw a line halfway down the treadmill, so that then you have to think about, okay, one foot only stays on one side and the other foot only stays on the other side. We could also be playing games while they're walking on the treadmill, and then this will train something called dual tasking, which basically just refers to having to do two things at the same time, so that, say, if they're walking outside and they're talking to somebody, then they're walking and they're talking, and this is something that we can train them while they're doing their exercise on the treadmill. And then all of these skills that they're picking up and they're practicing in clinic will then sort of like embed themselves in their mind and their bodies, and they'll remember it once they are outside and they're living their life, which is obviously the aim of what we do. Right, so how exactly do we use it? Thanks, Chris. How exactly do we use the treadmill? And like, it seems simple, really, just turn on the treadmill and start walking. But so that we can make it the most relevant and so that we can challenge the children in the way that they need to be challenged, then it gets a bit more complicated, especially because there's many different settings and many different ways you can actually use the treadmill. So, for example, one of the best ways, one of the best things about the treadmill is the fact that it's a controlled environment. So because of the way the treadmill is built and the way the treadmill works, the therapist then has full control over speed, over incline. They can see distance and time just sort of like on the screen. And all of this is then used for us to build a better program for the child so that they can eventually reach where they want to go. Incline, for example, is one of the things that we use most often, as it challenges children to work harder and better. So what I mean by that is that when we're using incline, most of the time we're trying to focus on strengthening the front part of the leg. So the part, if that was a leg. The muscles in that area are responsible for lifting the toes while you're walking. And children, for example, with CP are often have difficulty bringing their toes up because of weakness in that area. And then that causes toe drag, which is basically just when you're walking, your toes drag on the floor before getting up. This then can become a tripping hazard. It then becomes like adds more resistance while walking, which, you know, will wear down a child that already might have difficulties with endurance and stamina. So by setting the incline at the by setting the incline in the treadmill, then we are basically forcing the child to either lift their leg more so that their toes don't drag, or actually recruit those muscles so that the toes coming up and then they step onto the treadmill. And obviously as well, it does more endurance and stamina, considering that if you're walking up a hill, it's much harder than walking just on a flat surface. As well as all of that, we also have the added benefits of being on the incline, that when you're walking on it, if you have high tone and your muscles are quite stiff, then when you're walking on the incline, it's basically forcing your foot to go down and go through that whole ankle range. So then you're getting a nice stretch while we're doing the exercise anyway. So that's like a nice added bonus on the side. Right. So what happens if the child, for example, is having trouble maybe walking? So then how do we help the child take the steps in the way that they should? One of the best ways really for physios to help is to really get hands-on. So as soon as we get hands-on, we can then direct the foot maybe to one side. If they have a weakness more on one side than the other, then we can always help with the slightly weaker side, put their foot in the right position, or help them just if they're not timing their feet properly, then we can just do like a little squeeze at the back of the knee, and that will propel the leg forward. So then they don't have to think as much about it, instead of just focusing on walking and the exercise, instead of having to think too much about coordinating one leg that's not working as well as the other. So then we can come in and help with that as well. So what exactly happens if a child can't stand or walk? How is treadmill training something that will benefit them? That is something, for that we have a very cool and very useful piece of equipment called the LiteGait. The LiteGait is just really fantastic equipment that is essentially a hoist, which, you know, sort of like carries you and carries a child's weight, so you can practice walking. The difference is between that, the LiteGait and a hoist, is the fact that the LiteGait is made so that the child can actually weight bear at least partially themselves. So it won't completely hold you up. It could, but that's not the point of it. You want it to you want it to relax a little bit, so that the LiteGait is actually allowing the child to put weight through their legs, so then they get, again, that strength and that endurance and that exercise. So it's made basically as a partial weight bearing system to help specifically with gait. So it's made for walking, for helping children walk. Or, well, not just children, it's also for adults, but the one we have in the center is specifically for children. The way it works is it comes with sort of like a belt that you put around your hips. You clip it all in, then you clip it to some belts that come from the top, and then it lifts you with sort of like a control. It's just like a lifting machine. And then from there, the therapist can decide how much support the child actually needs. So they can add more support or less support depending on how much you want to challenge the child. So then in there, in the LiteGait, they are completely safe. They can't trip, they can't fall, they can't sort of like move around. If they decide that they are done and they're not really want to communicate that with you, or they can't, then they could just hang on the LiteGait, and obviously we'll take the hint and stop the treadmill. But it offers that super secure environment so that children, even if they can't stand for themselves, can still have that experience of standing upright, of moving their legs, of getting that weight bearing, even if it's assisted. And we could also use it in sort of like higher level children as well, for those who, for example, are walking but want to start running, but they're maybe a little bit scared of, taking that extra step, because, nobody wants to trip and fall. So with the LiteGait, it actually gives us the opportunity to put them on, clip them in, set the treadmill for a high speed, and off we go running in a way that, even if you trip a little bit, it's going to be okay. So yeah, the LiteGait is a fantastic piece of equipment that we use very often in the center. Right, so yeah, we have the treadmill and we have the LiteGait, and we've gone around and we've done all of these amazing things. But really, is a child going to want to? Chris has just put the LiteGait link in the chat if anybody's interested into seeing more or having more information on that. Thank you, Chris. So yeah, the treadmill is great and fantastic on paper, and it has all of these benefits. But is a child really going to want to get on the treadmill? Like, they're just gonna see a weird machine, and at first they might be like, "Ooh, this is fun. This looks exciting." But as soon as it just starts going, it's just, foot, step, 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 and a lot of children just will not be interested. So then it is our job to make it interesting, to make it so that they want to engage, so that they want to do more and go further. How do we do that? Well, we do it with, first things first, is the most important, is we set goals. It is one of the most important things we do as physios. We sit down with families and with the children themselves, and we talk, well, what would you like? Would you like to walk 10 meters without stopping? Would you like to run? Would you like to be able to just experience this for however much time you want? So by setting these goals, it gives us sort of like an end picture to get to, and then every week we can also always try and take another step towards that goal. The way we set goals is we follow SMART, which is S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, T for time-based. And then we try and make all goals fit into that category. So for example, we want to, just random, we want to be able to walk holding on to both sides of the treadmill in the center, so that's specific. Measurable, for 10 minutes, then you can see on the treadmill it's been 10 minutes. Measurable at 10% incline at this amount of speed. Achievable, so that obviously it needs to be relevant to the child, which is the next one. It needs to be something that they can actually see themselves doing in the short or long term. And then time-based, in 4 weeks, we want to be able to reach that goal. And then by doing that every week, we can always look back on it, say, okay, today we were able to do 5 minutes at this speed, at this incline, therefore we are on target to reach our goal at the right time. And then children and parents and their families can see how much they've improved week by week, and actually be motivated to come back and do more and push a little bit further, because it's hard work. It's really hard work, and the exercise is not easy. But by seeing themselves improve and seeing, actually, I am doing it, I am going to make it, then they feel a little bit more pushed, they feel a little bit more encouraged to do so, and then we reach the goal, basically. We also do it to track progress. We also do sort of like outcome measures, which basically means we use specific ways of tracking progress, even if it's not necessarily towards the goal. It might be just to show people that the child is improving, and that yeah, they're growing and they're becoming more independent, even if they might not see it. We can show it to them. I've had some parents maybe come in and say, oh, I haven't really noticed any change, but then we come back and we sort of like look through our outcome measures, look through our times, and find, oh, actually you were only able to do 5 minutes, now we can do 20. So although you might not see the difference and the change day to day because this is your life, we have this sort of like record of improvement, which can be like so motivating for kids that might not see the change as much as we do. But yeah, then we need to do more. Then we need to do a little bit more as well. That might not be enough to just motivate them to keep going. We need to also make it challenging and make it a bit more fun and make it a bit more, like lively. So obviously we can then change the speed and the incline and the support, as we've been saying, but we can also put maybe like certain restrictions. So with rewards, works wonders with rewards. So say, for example, we have a child who has a bit of a problem with the toe drag, and so we've decided that for each minute that he does without toe drag, then he gets a sticker. So then he sees it as a challenge. He sees it as, oh, I'm gonna get a reward. So they'll work towards that 1 minute, and that 1 minute will turn into 2 minutes, and then 3, and then 4, and then by the end of it, you've given them all of your stickers. But yeah, it's about keeping them entertained while they're on the treadmill. It can also be with maybe singing songs. Sort of like there's lots of marching songs which are great, like the ants go marching one by one, hurrah. Yeah, lots of singing. The Grand Old Duke of York as well, or maybe even just any song that the child likes. Maybe they'll just like walk to the beat. That's also a great way to entice them into maybe doing a little bit more than they would last week, for example. Yeah, all right. So that's pretty much it on my side. Thank you very much for joining. Just sort of like as a little conclusion to today's session, the treadmill training with or without the LiteGait is a type of therapy that we use in pediatrics that has been proven to improve stamina and strength and gait, which basically just means how you walk, confidence, as well as the health of bones, muscles, and joints. We at CPotential, we're always making sure to make it relevant and to make it fun, and so that all of our clients will come into the clinic, and they'll then be able to take what they've learned in the clinic out into the world, into their everyday life. We want to make that transition as easy as possible by then challenging them and making it fun and making it relevant. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. This video is then going to be saved onto our Facebook, so if you would like to come back to this information, you are more than welcome to. It'll be saved on here. So that also means that you can share it if you find anybody that you think would help or would be interested, or if anyone's just curious. Yeah, so if you also have any other questions for us at the center, you can always find all of our contact information on the Facebook or on our actual website. And then from there will be any sort of like contacts that you can email with questions, or just any other information about the therapies that we have available at the center. So just to let you guys know as well, we offer our first assessment at the center for only £20, and then it'll give you access to all other services, not just physio. We also have monthly offers. So for this month, we have buy 4 sessions for the price of 3. Yeah, for all families that are interested. Thank you very much. I hope this has been useful. And yeah, see you next time. Bye bye. Oh, how can families, sorry, just to answer some questions, thank you for the info, you're welcome. And how can families come in for an assessment? Well, you can email us in, say if you're interested, if this is something that you think would be good for you, you can email us in. We'll then contact you back with sort of like available times or available therapists. And then we'll send you all of the information, which will include sort of like a pre-assessment, some COVID safety stuff as well. And we'll let you know where you can find us in the center, and then you can come in and we'll basically have a look at you during the session. And we'll do assessment depending on what you would like to do, whether it's treadmill training or not. Right. Thank you very much. I will see you hopefully at some point. Bye bye.